Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Vinnie Mac, the genetic jackhammer, the boss, the chairman. What a piece of garbage. As we dive into this collection of scummy things he's done, know that the video you're about to watch isn't about the scummy things he's done in real life. No, I wouldn't have time to edit a video that long. I've got kids. You see, Vince is the head of WWE Creative. Nothing gets on screen without his say-so. So, this is a list of the crappy things he's authorized himself to do on live television. And yes, some of the things he did were to make him a more hated heel, but the things we're talking about, he did because he's an arrogant D-bag. I'm Senor Siete for 7 Wrestling, and let's take a look at the 7 scummiest things Vince McMahon has done on WWE TV. Now, we're a relatively new site. We'd appreciate it if you'd like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Number 1, In God We Job. A lot of guys have really impressive resumes. Hulk Hogan holds victories over Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, and Ric Flair. Brock Lesnar has bested The Undertaker, The Rock, and Roman Reigns. John Cena has pinned Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Kurt Angle. But only one tag team has a victory over God. No, not that God. No, not the wrestling God either. I mean the Almighty. No, not that Almighty. I mean actual God. You know, created the heavens and the earth, that guy. And God has only ever wrestled one match, and he lost to Vince and Shane McMahon. This might require some explaining. Born-again religious fella Shawn Michaels had tussled with the chairman at WrestleMania, and after a wild brawl, the Heartbreak Kid picked up a win. So, to get back at HBK, McMahon declared himself a god. He started his own religion, known as McMahonism, and in doing so named himself the Lord, Master, and God of all sports entertainment. Classy. He would cut a promo on God in an actual church where he would spit out holy water in a Triple H impression. Awesome. From there, he would book himself and his son in a tag team match against Shawn Michaels and God. That's God with a capital G. And in the lead-up, they acted like God was going to show up. At one point, McMahon went to attack Michaels, only to be thwarted by well-timed pyrotechnics. Clearly the work of a higher power. I mean, that's more of a Zeus thing. Not that Zeus. And while Vince was mocking religion backstage, Shane's water actually turned into wine. Now that is totally God stuff. But in the end, despite getting an entrance, God never had any impact on the match, with McMahon even claiming that God had left the ringside area and forsaken Michaels. But even in a handicap match, Michaels took care of the elder and younger McMahon easily. It wasn't until the Spirit Squad showed up. Oh, sorry. That's a team of 5 male cheerleaders that Shawn Michaels used to like to beat up. Hi, Dolph Ziggler. Sorry, it wasn't until the Spirit Squad showed up and hit their epic sky-high slam through a table that McMahon was able to pick up a victory. Did any of this make Vince McMahon a more effective heel? No. Was it more likely to turn off a portion of the fan base? Absolutely. And was it kind of funny when Jerry Lawler referred to the winning team as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit Squad? Okay, yeah, we'll give him that one. Number 2, union dues. Did you know that WWE superstars sign an exclusive contract with the organization? They aren't allowed to ply their trades elsewhere, and yet they are considered independent contractors, so they don't receive benefits such as travel stipends or health insurance for their families. It's been a point of contention for decades, from when Jesse Ventura tried to unionize the boys in the lead up to WrestleMania 2, to Zelina Vega tweeting about unionization and meeting with the Screen Actors Guild after she was fired, and then promptly deleting those tweets once she was brought back on board. Long story short, Vince McMahon doesn't want anything to do with a wrestler's labor union. So, in 1999, when Shane McMahon took over Vince's corporation stable of wrestlers, a rival group rose up to provide resistance. Made up of former corporation members Test, Ken Shamrock and The Big Show, and former McMahon punching bag Mankind, this quartet was just what was needed to bring the hated corporation to their knees. And what would you call this group? Well, if you've got grapefruits like Vince McMahon, you have the audacity to call them the Union. And you also have them carry around big old 2x4s, just like all us working folk do. Don't we? Damn it, where's my 2x4? Anyhow, this stable was thankfully short-lived. It barely lasted a month, but if you ever wanted to feel icky about labor disparity, here's a picture of Vince McMahon himself hanging out with Union. Oh look, and he's got his own 2x4, just like a real working man. Number 3, going away graciously. In the summer of 2022, it looked like Vince McMahon's time as the chairman of the board was coming to an end. A variety of sexual misconduct allegations, as well as over $19 million in confidential agreement payments for said victims, had surfaced. It made all the sense in the world for Vince to call it a career. So, on July 22nd, 2022, Vince would announce his retirement so he could go do horrible things in his free time. And you would think that with the whole, resigning and disgrace thing, that he would just bow out gracefully. But come on, that kind of level-headed thinking isn't why you clicked on this video, is it? No. In the lead up to this, Vince would randomly open Raw and SmackDown to welcome the audience to the show in the midst of what was a very public scandal, and for no other reason than to say, screw you, this is my show. McMahon would take up precious airtime to prove some kind of twisted point. What makes this even crazier is how Vince McMahon was back 6 months later to prove that rich guys simply don't do consequences. Ugh. I need to get rich. Number 4, and new. This probably isn't news to anybody watching this video, but just to make our point, nobody really wins a championship in professional wrestling. Sure, you can argue that people earn things, they work their way up, make themselves popular, and then are given things they deserve, but in modern professional wrestling, nobody has ever won anything. So, why does somebody receive a championship belt? To highlight a character, to enhance a storyline, to add dramatic weight to an upcoming bout, and the more prestigious the title is, the more valuable it is to a character, a storyline, or a match. And what adds prestige to a title? Well, the people who've held it, the bouts it's been defended in, the quality of the title reign. What we're getting at is, it just doesn't make sense to have a lesser talent claim a title only to lose it back quickly. So, why would Vince McMahon pick up a fluke win over Triple H during a 1999 episode of SmackDown to claim the most prestigious title in North America? Was it so we could have this picture? We would say it was to move along a storyline, but he literally vacated the title the next week. Oh well, it's not like he did something ridiculous like, booked himself to win the Royal Rumble, or, put the European title on his son, or, put the women's title on his daughter who didn't even wrestle at the time. Ugh, I need a rich dad. Number 5, the genetic jackass. In the February 2001 issue of Playboy magazine, Vince McMahon gave a candid interview where he discussed the then WWF, the upcoming XFL, and other topics including his relationship with his wife Linda. In an interesting moment, Vince said he was always loyal to Linda, but he wasn't always faithful. He would go on to describe this to mean that when he would have extramarital affairs, he'd always be honest when confronted about them. What a guy! Can you imagine? Are you having an affair? Totally. Why are you mad? I was honest about it. However, Vince had turned over a new leaf and hadn't strayed in over 6 years. So maybe it wasn't so bad that his Mr. McMahon character had become a lecherous perv. I mean, how bad can it be that he's making out with Trish Stratus in front of his wife Linda, who in storyline was comatose? If she had a problem with it, she was right there and could have spoken up. And it didn't end with Trish. Vince would have on-air flings with Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson, Candice Michelle, Sable. Even Mae Young wasn't safe from the scenarios that Vince McMahon would dream up. And yeah, it's kind of weird and kind of gross that you have to make out with your boss, but it is acting, right? Well, apparently that 6-year fidelity streak didn't last forever, and one of the people that sued Vince was a former in-ring talent. So yeah, just top to bottom ick, left to right bleh, and beginning to end barf. Number 6, WrestleMania's worst win. There's something to be said for this new era of celebrities that get involved in wrestling. Bye-bye Jay Leno's weak headlocks, and hello Bad Bunny's Canadian Destroyer. It's wild. Logan Paul is a legitimate superstar. Even NFL kicker turned podcast fella Pat McAfee has done quite well for himself. He had a banger of a match against Adam Cole Bay in NXT. He headed up a War Games team, and he held his own against Austin Theory at WrestleMania 38. You love to see it. What you don't love to see is what happened after the match with Theory. McMahon decided it was time to take matters in his own hands and square off against the then SmackDown color commentary. And what followed is easily the worst match in WrestleMania history. And that's a history that includes Michael Cole, Akebono, Dink, The Cat, Giant Gonzalez. What followed was McAfee taking some of the worst clotheslines ever from a septuagenarian. And the coup de grace was McMahon punting a football into McAfee's tummy, which McAfee proceeded to sell as if he had been shot. And McMahon used that to pick up the 1, 2, 3. Why did this happen? So Stone Cold Steve Austin could then run out and stunner everyone? I got news. Steve Austin doesn't need a reason to stunner anyone. He could have done it without the McMahon debacle and people would have enjoyed it just as much. Number 7, poor old JR. There are few talents more beloved than former voice of Monday Night Raw, Jim Ross. His calls are legendary, his catchphrases are unique. I mean, what is a scalded dog anyway? But odds are when you're reliving a classic moment from the Attitude Era, Jim Ross's voice is the one that you're hearing. So why does Vince McMahon delight in ridiculing this key member of his organization? From being forced to kiss Vince McMahon's bare tush, to McMahon ridiculing JR's bouts with Bell's palsy, and the ultimate why does this exist segment, Dr. Heine. It was on the October 24th, 2005 edition of Monday Night Raw where to celebrate Jim Ross's successful surgery where he had 13 inches of his colon removed, Vince performed in a skit where he would portray a surgeon named Dr. Heine. This is very highbrow stuff. Seconded by the buxom nurse Slobberknockers, come on. McMahon would pretend to reach into JR's posterior and remove a bottle of barbecue sauce, a football, a stuffed owl, Mae Young's other hand, a goldfish, an Oklahoma football helmet, and a Stone Cold Steve Austin water bottle. And the big punchline, after 7 minutes of this, is when Dr. Heine pulled JR's head out of his rear end. Oh, and of course this was all capped off with Vince being Vince. Gross. So why was the audience subjected to 7 minutes of the exact same joke? To hype a pay-per-view? To sell t-shirts? To introduce a new talent? Nope, Nurse Slobberknocker would not go on to dominate the women's division. Jim Ross would explain to Conrad Thompson the reason this existed was, I am the belief that there was some personal animosity in it. I still don't understand it to this day. I think it was a personal thing and he enjoyed it. Well, at least someone enjoyed it. There's our list. Did we forget any other times Vince McMahon was a scumbag on national TV? If so, let us know in the comment section below. Also, we're a relatively new site. We'd appreciate it if you'd like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Senor Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.